So hopefully over this year, you'll find your way to the atrium and see either Elizabeth or one of her colleagues. Now, she mentioned the atrium. Has anybody heard of that? It's the baked bean tin can on Oxford Road. If you go in there, there's a whole floor of student service and support, and that's where the career service one-to-one meetings are held. It's definitely worth going to investigate, not only because it's a beautiful space and there's lots of support for you, but also there's a nice cafe just round the corner. So, I'm Judy Williams. I'm a senior lecturer in Manchester Medical School. I'm also head of training and support for postgraduate students through to senior academic staff. Got quite a wide remit that I'm covering. And today I've been asked to come and talk to you about producing a high-quality thesis. Anybody already produced a high-quality thesis already? Not quite yet, but you will over the next 12 months. Fantastic. So I wanted to start by thinking, well, what does it look like? I'm going to have to produce something that I hand in 12 months' time, and we'll all be looking, smiling at you this time next year as you come with it into the graduate office to hand them all in. What does it look like? What does it need to contain? I want you just to turn to the person next to you. If you don't know them, introduce yourself, and come up with what you think this high-quality thesis contains. Off you go. But now what does it contain? Shout out some things for me.
Introduction.
An introduction. And that's got to be current, doesn't it? And you'll need the library to support you to ensure that that's top dollar. Fantastic. What else?
True aims.
Abstract aims. What else? Lead review.
Discussion.
Yeah, discussion. Oh, fantastic. I'm getting lots and lots. Huh? References. Oh. It's an academic piece of work. It needs to be referenced, doesn't it? And those references need to be accurate. They also should be done using a reference tool. Have you all used something like that already?
Yes.
EndNote, Reference Manager, one of those computer-based tools so that you're not typing anything in, it's done automatically, no mistakes. Because that's one of the key things in your dissertation. It should be error-free.
And we are forgetting the title. We are forgetting the title of it.
And the title's so important. One of the key things here is that it should have a clear message. The title should really kind of give a key indication of the take-home message. You should have the relevant background information. Looking at the literature, making sure it's current, making sure it's not biased, making sure that it's complete. It should be actually full of something new, novel. Your ideas, your thoughts, your concepts about the research topic that you've undertaken within your master's program. It should have, and this is where sometimes people might just fall a little bit, it should have a robust statistical analysis. Yes? I can see some looks of statistics at this point. If that starts to make you feel a little bit wobbly, that's when you get help and support within your programs. Make sure that you get that, because that's something your examiners will pick up on. As we've said, it should have appropriate referencing. One of the most important things is that you should actually hand it in and finish on time. So Phil mentioned at the beginning time management, and those skills were important. So you know when your deadlines are, work back from it. But also, one of the key things here, it should have an appropriate academic style of writing. And maybe we started to develop that in our undergraduate degree, but now it's about enhancing it and developing it further for our dissertation. So, what support's available to help me if I already think my academic style of writing could do with a little bit of polishing, or enhancing, or developing, or, oh my goodness, it's horrendous and I need help? So, firstly, don't worry, there's a lot of support available. And David from the library talked about the My Learning Essentials and support that's available through the library and that actually is developed and delivered through the Alan Gilbert Learning Commons. And you can find all of that. But specifically for you, we've developed an online training program to help and support you with some of the key skills around writing your dissertation. So we have an online writing skills program. And it's a 12-unit program. It's going to be available for you for the next 12 months. You can spend every hour of every day going online and looking at this because it's that thrilling. Honestly, it is. It goes through all grammar and everything else. And it will actually then take you through and help and guide you. It's an interactive program with all of the common mistakes that your peers have made in the past. So when we've developed this, we took 150 dissertations from across the faculty and looked at what the common mistakes were, and we've used them to help design and develop this program. So as you can see here, one of the things is about commonly confused words. When should we use fewer? When should we use less? There's lots of examples like that, and I do all of the training for our PhD students here in the faculty, and I do an introduction to academic writing with them, and I've never forgotten one poor chap when I was doing a session, and he said to me, "Judy, why do I need to know the difference between practice with an S and practice with a C?" And I'm like, okay, if you don't know why you need to know that, you're going to find out when the examiners mark your thesis at the end and give you your feedback. One's a verb, one's a noun, and you've got to be using the right one. This is an academic piece of work. You've got to make sure it's correct. So you're all aware of the rule behind fewer and less? Yeah? Fewer is used with nouns, less is uncountable nouns. So you know when you're in the supermarket and it says 6 items or less, that is grammatically and academically wrong. If you shop in Marks and Spencer's or Waitrose, you will see it as the 6 items or fewer, academically, grammatically correct. The other key thing I wanted to highlight to you now is around plagiarism. So I know you've all done undergraduate degrees and there will be different types of plagiarism detection systems within operation within different universities. I wanted to make you aware of what we have here and what support we have here to help make sure you're aware of what plagiarism is and what it isn't. So, simply put, I've plagiarized this slide. I have cut and pasted it from the internet and I haven't attributed where I've got it from. And it's the use of somebody else's words as if they're your own. And this is really important when you're writing your dissertation because you're going to be demonstrating facts, pulling from all those fantastic papers you've been to the library to read and putting them into your dissertation. But you have to do it in a style and manner that is using your own words. If you are wanting to quote, then you have to put them into quotation marks. But on the whole, it has to be your own words, your own language that you're using to get it across. That's also true if you're copying any figures or diagrams. So if you've got a nice image that you're thinking, wow, that would really help to demonstrate or illustrate the point that I want to make, you have to say where you've got that image from, or you need to draw it yourself. If you are cutting and pasting it from the internet, you need to have permission to use it in your thesis. And this is when sometimes some of the information on the internet, it feels like common knowledge. But it isn't. If it's a fact and you're using it, you've got to cite where that fact first came from. And sometimes on the internet, it's hard to find out. So this is why using journal articles and using Google Scholar or any of the academic databases were really helpful to find where that fact first came from. Here at Manchester, we use Turnitin, and it is a detection system that's used widely across the UK, and it will produce a traffic light system. Now, most of you, when you're doing any assessment as part of this master's programme, will be uploading your assessment online through Blackboard, and in that process, it will automatically go through the detection Turnitin system. It will produce a Turnitin report, and it will traffic light for us what it finds. So I'm just going to give you an example. Do not worry, these are not real. These are all me. I've created them for you. So I've got student 1, and my research area is on heart failure. And so I run a course on obesity and heart failure. I've written a beautiful abstract. Beautifully written. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Well, it should be, because I just cut and pasted it off the internet. And here you can see it links directly back 100% to the article. I can click on, and I can see the article that I've taken it from. My second student, do you know, this abstract doesn't read quite as well. It kind of jumps about a bit. Well, that's because I've cut and pasted it from a lot of different places. A little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from somewhere else. And you can see here, it tells me the percentage matches, and it also links back. And this is important because one of the questions I was asked yesterday when I was teaching some master's students in dentistry, can I use something that I've already written in a previous degree? Because now I've come to do this is really relevant, and my undergraduate project, what I've written there really could help. But that's plagiarism, because you've used those words already for the degree that you got as an undergraduate. And up here you can see that it actually links back to a student project back in 2004. Now, I started using this system back in 2000, and you can imagine how many student pieces of work are on there now. So don't be tempted to, even though they're your words, they're no longer your words because you've already used them and they are associated with the degree you've got. You can use anything in your dissertation that you write this year. Yep. Don't want anybody falling foul of any rules. And I just wanted to highlight, there I cut and paste big paragraphs. Here, I've been a bit more cunning. What happens if I just change a few words in the sentence and add to it so that it's more me rather than just cutting and pasting from the internet? This detection system is so clever it will pick that up, and that would still be classed as plagiarism. So just be aware. So are you all aware now of what plagiarism is and isn't? You all happy? If it's not your words, it's got to be in exclamation marks and referenced. If it's a fact, you have to put it in your own words and reference it at the end. If it's your own thoughts and feelings about something, then you write with your own thoughts and feelings. Yep, everybody happy? Are you ready for a little test then? Just a little one. Okay, look of horror. Oh my goodness, we're being marked and it's only day 1. I've got 4 different ways of saying something. The one at the top is the original text. And I want you to now decide whether you think 1, 2, 3, and 4 are plagiarism. Okay? So I'll give you a moment to read it. I love the body language I'm seeing. There's a lot of this, there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of confusion. Okay, should we go through them? You ready? What do you think about number 1? 100% plagiarism. You agree? Yeah. How do I prevent that from being plagiarism? Do you know, my son calls them 99s. He's at school, he's only just learning grammar. He calls them 99s. And this teacher told him off. They're not 99s, they're commas, inverted commas. So you have to have it in the inverted commas or the 99s, yeah? Excellent. What about number 2? Plagiarism. I've got some plagiarism here. I've got a lot of quiet over there. How many of you think it's plagiarism? How many of you think it isn't? How many of you are absolutely no idea? Okay? It's plagiarism. It's plagiarism because I've highlighted in red the words that are taken directly from that original. So even if it was referenced, even if it had the reference at the end, it would still be classed as plagiarism. It hasn't changed substantially from the original. Okay? What about number 3? How many of you think 3 is plagiarism? How many of you think 3 is okay? How many of you are not sure? Okay. Not everybody's hand's going up here. So 3 is actually plagiarism. What's happened here is all I've done is take a thesaurus, and in yellow I've shown you the words that have changed. So I don't know if any of you still watch Friends. Yeah, some of you still watch Friends. It's an American TV show. And back in there, Joey wrote a letter where he just changed all of the words using a thesaurus to try and sound clever. This is one of the common mistakes that master students make. And what sits behind this is the feeling that maybe we're not just quite good enough. And this is a psychological feeling, and there's a name to it. It's called the imposter syndrome. And there's been a lot of research on this, but you'll be pleased to know it's not just master students that suffer this. It's PhD students, lecturers, senior lecturers, and I'm doing some work at the moment with heads of school, and they suffer from it too. And it's the belief that I'm not quite good enough. And actually, I'm one step away from being found out as a fraud. This leads to that, because actually, my writing, my thinking isn't quite good enough, so I need to use somebody else's and just change it because I'm not confident about how I write and what I think. My advice to you is, you wouldn't be here if we didn't think you were good enough. In fact, you are all exceptional, which is why we've got you here. And we're here to help and support you. So do not worry and do not be infected. It's highly infectious, this imposter syndrome. Do not get infected by it. If you are suffering from it, please come and see us and we will help and support you. But please don't infect me either. What about number 4? Oh, gold star, top of the class. It's okay, but it's not referenced. Absolutely. It is okay, but it would benefit from having references and actually multiple references. And sometimes when I give this talk, people say to me, yeah, but Judy, that's just common knowledge. And I go, okay, when does something all of a sudden become common knowledge? If over this year you find something exceptional, which you could, and you will, and you publish it, and you get a paper, and then you're wanting people to reference your paper. And I remember my first paper, the blood, sweat and tears that went into writing it. I always want people to say Williams et al. 1996. I don't want them to ever stop. I don't want it to become common knowledge. And so actually think back to, if that was my paper, I'd still want people to reference it. So always reference. And the more references shows your wider reading. It shows that actually you're doing a better academic job. So to help and support you with this, because I don't want to scare you, this is just to make you aware. We do have online support in academic malpractice. And on the online suite in Blackboard, and I know I'm going to see a lot of you on Monday or the Monday after for research methods, I will be showing you and going through all of this with you. For that, we have an online suite and we have an academic malpractice and lots of resources on the web. Do not worry, this will be in your research methods folder and I will go through all of this with you. As I've said, on this community space in Blackboard, we have academic writing, we have plagiarism and academic malpractice. We've also got all research methods, so I've got statistics, SPSS, etc. on there. I've also got how to write a dissertation, study design, epidemiology, qualitative research methodology as well for some of you in the room that might be appropriate, etc. So it's definitely worth going and exploring your PGT community space in Blackboard. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday for those of you who I've got, and the Monday after for the rest of you. Thank you very much. Any questions? I've got 2 questions to begin with. One there, yep.
Ordinarily, the first of a piece of work, I think it's good when previous experiences, put it on Trinity and then check it. I think some of us have been checking online to see where the position is.
Okay, so the question is, in my previous institution and previously, I was able to upload things into Turnitin and check it before submitting it. Here at Manchester, we don't do that. So we don't do that because we don't want you to learn how to get around using Turnitin. We would prefer to put our efforts into supporting you to write and to enable you to be more confident with your writing. Personally, I don't need to use Turnitin. I don't need to use Turnitin because all I need to do is read your work and I will see where there is a change in the grammar, in the sentence construction, and I will see where things have been cut and paste. I always get all my students to write with a pen and paper. Oh, you see, this is when you realise how old I am. I get them all, and some of them look at the pen and paper, what's this? So I can actually see your sentence construction. I can see how you formulate, and then we can work on that, as opposed to, okay, let's see how we can make sure we don't fall foul of Turnitin. It's much better to actually enhance your writing skills. Yep, second question.
Second question.
Okay. Any other questions? Yep.
What style of referencing we are supposed to use?
Excellent question. This is one that you should check with your program director. My advice when you're writing, always use a Harvard-based system. So a Harvard-based system of referencing is where they use the name with the year. So that when you are writing and when you're doing all of your drafts, you remember the name with the year. Because if you're having a viva, because you've done so well and you're getting a distinction, you've already got all of that association so that you know Williams et al. 2004 identified this, as opposed to, it was reference number 5. And in a viva, reference number 5 means nothing, whereas Williams et al. Is the actual answer. Yeah. Other question? Yeah.
You mentioned the online academic writing. Where do you access that?
Through Blackboard, through the PGT community space.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's all in one place. I've tried to make it easy. And if anybody has any problems, talk to your program director. They'll be able to highlight. If you're coming to research methods and as part of your program, I'm doing all of that, and so you'll be able to see and I'll show you. Any other questions? So I'm delighted now to hand... Oh, sorry, one more question, sorry.
Is there any free websites we can use it to check our dissertation, for example, for Turnitin?
So the question is, are there any free sites to check our dissertations like Turnitin that we can put them through to be happy and confident? I would say don't get hung up on Turnitin. This is where actually using your network, using your friends, using your colleagues on your program. When I did my PhD back in before the internet was invented, I have to put my hands up now and say I'm badly dyslexic. So my academic writing is not fantastic, and it is something that really makes me feel like an imposter syndrome. And I'm happy to share that. I've got a PhD, and I'm past that, but it still haunts me. However, back then there wasn't such a thing as Turnitin, there wasn't such a thing as the internet. It was only just coming out. I used my peers and my fellow PhD students to proofread and give me advice and feedback on my thesis, my dissertation. That actually was the best because they had some scientific knowledge and they could be asking all the pertinent questions. Well, why have you said this? What does that mean? And actually that really helped to shape my thesis and enabled me to pass with very, very little corrections. So I wouldn't start using computer programs because they'll miss the nuances that actually real people will ask the what and the why that will really help you to get a really high quality thesis. So start making friends, Start bribing one another with chocolates, cake, coffee, whatever it takes. And then you can start, once you've got that network, there could be a few of you, and then just pass your theses around and really get good quality, high quality thesis in the end.